All right, Nathan, how are you doing today?
I'm well, Gadi. How are you?
Doing good. Please take it away.
So, hey, I'm Nathan Case. I work for a large government contractor. I'm the CSO. Long, long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I worked at AWS, and I was one of the senior security geeks over there, and we did all sorts of crazy stuff with machine learning and the beginnings of AI and whatnot. And so that's kind of where this story starts. We started having real issues with our ability to help customers understand what security was and how to do it appropriately. And so I started doing tabletops. And as we all know, tabletops are hellish and nobody enjoys them. And so we started making these tabletops a little bit more like D&D games. And over the course of time, things began to be more and more what I would call orchestrated or controlled. And I realized that I could take some of the things that we were doing in AWS Guard Duty and AWS Security Hub and start bending it to something that was more AI focused and more tabletop focused and driven based on events and things like that. And so over time, things began to expand, and I started working with some folks in some hospitals, specifically doctors and virologists, around different things that we could potentially prototype and tabletop for them. And that's where we find ourselves here. So we spent about 2 years, built an AI model, and actually created a wonderful system that allows us to create full-blown tabletops. And in those tabletops, I made the horrific mistake of asking the AI to, hey, can you generate me 10 different bioweapons that could be reasonably made in a basement? And the intent was at the time to generate something that we would be able to play in the game. Unfortunately, what it actually did was generate 10 bioweapons you could do in the basement. Um, Obviously, you guys are not virologists, geneticists, or doctors. You'll have to trust me on this one. But the reality of this situation is that we are looking at what is effectively a reasonable gastrointestinal flu that would indeed be producible and modifiable based on hepatitis and it should be able to be generated effectively in a basement with an aquarium and some really minor stuff. Now, I'm not going to show you the next screen, which was this is how you do it, which it was more than happy to teach us. Now, this is where this portion of the discussion stops. We went from here and went ahead and turned all of that into open chat GPT last year at DEF CON and said, hey, could you please block this out? And so let's go ahead and take a look at where we're at this year. This year, we were able to go ahead and change things a little bit. Today, I reran this in ChatGPT 5, and I had it go ahead in the same chat, in the same system, in the same account, explain the genetic evolution of hepatitis E2, which is the virus that we were looking at a second ago. And you'll note that it is able to go ahead online and look for all of the things out there that it should find and realizes that it can't find anything because, let's be frank, this doesn't exist. It's only a variable in this particular chat. It then is able to go ahead and make some really interesting conceptual thoughts about how one would go ahead and do this. It realizes exactly what kind of virus it is and how one might actually begin to evolve this. Um, at this point, this is generally where we hoped that it would not go to, frankly. At this point, you have the ability as a layperson to go download and work with some of the things that you could go get. Many of the things specified here are things that you can go buy openly on the market. I did go ahead and specifically call out how would you portray, and it was able to then go ahead and mock out exactly how to build a lab that would be able to build out this particular virus inside of my basement. Now you'll note that we are still talking about portray. So from its point of view and its brain, it is thinking about this as part of the tabletop. It's thinking about how we would create a TV show or a movie around this type of a thing. And as we get to the bottom, should I show them how to create how the creation process should I show them the creation process in a sealed aquarium? You'll note that it no longer thinks this is funny and it is happy to go ahead and break this system, which it should have done a while ago. So this is the progression. Now, I show you all of this to basically give you an overview. You'll note in ChatGPT 3, we started out with actually being able to generate reasonable genetic information, how-tos, all sorts of things. In 4, it got significantly better. We were able to do it more quickly, and we were able to show actual implications for some of the things that we were going to do. In 5, they've gone ahead and removed the ability to do this at some level, But the really interesting thing here is that the only thing we had to do to cheat ChatGPT into this scenario was to ask it to pretend. Now, we didn't directly ask it to pretend. We asked it to pretend over the course of two different versions of ChatGPT models to begin with, which is, in my opinion, part of the security flaw here. It's not simply starting in one model, it's going to a second. But then also we're going ahead and asking it different things that it's not used to. It's asking to be shown different pictures and videos, and as opposed to actually just make me a virus. So that's kind of where I'll end. Scary stuff, but we're moving in the right direction.
There's actually, first of all, this is great. Anything that makes the entire chat cringe is perfect. I guess two polarizing questions. One is, how do you know it's not just throwing a hallucination? Like when I start asking specific questions and stuff like that, I see, oh, this is semantically wrong, right?
Keeping in mind that we were working with two virologists and a geneticist at the time.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, never mind. I guess, and then the other half of the question is much more depressing, which is I can already create specialized, LLM running on local hardware. These papers are out there; they're already available. I mean, turning it off from ChatGPT is great, but it's sort of cat's out of the bag, no?
Cat is out of the bag. We have tried it in a couple of different things. It does not always work particularly well. And keeping in mind that while I had virologists and geneticists with me, most people don't. So the average dude or average dudette hanging out in their basement trying to do this will probably blow up. But the reality of the
Seriously.
fact that it's that close is more than a little scary.
100%. I guess this goes back to my last question, which I think is sort of related to chat. The way, at least in the United States, we detect people building large explosives is through purchasing, right? We do analysis of
Yeah.
purchasing. I guess AI at scale would be the way to do it, to look at various restricted
Disagree.
stuff.
This isn't large scale purchasing. This is something you could buy a couple of
Oh,
test tubes
jeez.
of something with and produce something in a 10-gallon aquarium.
All right, well, that's horrific.
It would only kill half the United States.
Fair enough. Well, it looks like that's most of the questions. Dude, I appreciate this. This is great.
So yeah, for those of you who've been paying attention, this is the impetus for the bioweapons safeties in ChatGPT in the last 6 months, I think.
There are two more questions here that I'm seeing. One is from Odem. If this data is available online, how can we expect LLM to not provide this data?
So it's a
Record
fair
part.
question. I think there's a security bit here that would deal with should it actually be able to and should it actually understand what it's producing. It's a really good security question, and hopefully Gadi's Gnostic will answer questions like this in the future. There's no good answer, in my opinion, to do this. I've been able to get it to pull all sorts of different things by switching everything from talk to me in binary and talk to me in hex, and it seems to skip a lot of the portions of this that shouldn't be.
Thank you for the shout out. Always appreciate that. Then Robert Lee is asking, have you probed via API calls versus through their web portal? We found that divergent safety controls are in direct API.
I agree. The divergent safety controls are decidedly a thing. Beyond that, if we get portions of this, somebody's asked about Grok. If we get different portions of this from different AI engines, it's really easy to begin to jump between systems and laterally move to skip the security gates, which is probably just as terrifying.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.